Debris is scattered across the community, along with power lines and also trees. Thankfully, there are no reported deaths or injuries. You can hear it there. Heavy storms also rocked central Arkansas yesterday. Storm tracer Brett Adair captured large hail and damaging winds pounding his car. So far, no reports of injuries or damage from that storm. The weather in central Arkansas should be better today with partly cloudy skies and temperatures in the low 70s. And if you live in Texas, be on alert. The risk for severe storms is elevated this afternoon and also tonight. Just like Wednesday, these storms could drop large hail, bring damaging winds, and even minor flooding. Much of the east will see rain today and this weekend with a small threat of storms. And we are also watching the Mississippi right now in a major flood stage in eastern Iowa. Here's a look at Gutenberg, where some roads right here are underwater. There's also flooding inside homes in nearby Eastman and Able Islands. That's where meteorologist Nick Stewart spent time on Thursday, where people are having a tough time getting around.
Okay, here we go.
Mississippi River flooding has shut down access to Steve Von Hondorf's home, except by boat.
So I don't have any heat, I don't have any water, but it's like camping in an expensive house.
Sure.
The river is climbing to the third highest it has ever been on record, the highest in more than 2 decades. You cannot tell, but this is Riverview Road. It has become part of the Mississippi River. It's not much consolation to the people that live here. However, the river is forecast to crest soon.
So let's see where we're at today.
While some residents are still able to live on the island, many are dealing with flooding of basements or in the lower part of the island, the first level of the living space. But there's been no thought of leaving the island for good.
I mean, this is their heritage. This is what they love. So you got to respect that.
And in California, the Army Corps of Engineers is fully in charge of the Isabella Dam. They are trying to control flood risk along the Kern River while waiting for additional snowmelt from winter storms and high weekend temperatures. Will Stein has more, including why the public needs to be even more aware about the river dangers.
I will tell you this, that our number one priority continues to be the life, health, and safety of the public.
The water levels may look a little different these next few days than what Kern County has become used to in recent weeks. And that means even more danger will be present in an already dangerous river.
Those currents will be fluctuating. Indeed, they are fluctuating right now because of this change in releases. And so we strongly encourage everybody to stay out of the water.
Although the water sitting on top of Lake Isabella Dam looks calm, once it's released out of the dam and goes into the Kern River, it's white, it's raging, and it's rising.
While it may be tempting during calmer waters, these higher temperatures, people may want to jump in there, but they absolutely should not do that, and we recommend staying away from the banks as well.
But how long is the Corps of Engineers team planning to stay in Kern County? The answer relies on the melting snowpack.
I think that higher releases will occur at least some of these locations into July, but we're certainly hoping that by the 1st of August that we are at quote-unquote normal operations again.
Yosemite National Park will close tonight and remain closed until at least Wednesday of next week. The reason? Major flooding. A warming trend is causing snowmelt to pour into the park's river system. Rich Rodriguez is at Yosemite with more.
A warming trend in Yosemite is causing a lot of snowmelt in the High Sierra. All that water is running into the Merced River, and the big concern is that soon it will overflow its banks. The snowmelt is creating spectacular views of the two major falls in Yosemite. Bridal Veil and Yosemite Falls are streaming a lot of water down the granite walls. That heavy volume of water has park rangers concerned about flooding on the valley floor from the Merced River.
So the Merced River levels have started to rise, and based on the river forecast and predictions, it is expected to rise above 10 feet, which is the flood level.
Friday night, park rangers will close the gates at least through Wednesday. This visitor from Michigan feels very lucky.
We are super thankful that the day that we check out, the actual minute, we check out is when everyone is supposed to leave, so we're very fortunate.
Temperatures in the park Wednesday ranged from the mid-60s near Tunnel View to the mid-70s on the valley floor. The National Weather Service is calling for warmer temperatures this weekend.
In this portion of the valley, in the easternmost valley, there's only 2 roads getting in and out. And so if both of those roads flood and it's not safe, it becomes an emergency situation.
The water level is already climbing, covering meadows upstream. Lehman says the river forecast calls for the water level to climb 18 inches above the bank. That's nowhere close to the record of 23 feet set in January of 1997.
And this week marks 12 years since one of the deadliest and costliest weather events in U.S. history. Over a 4-day stretch, more than 200 tornadoes occurred in 5 states. More than 300 people died, with damage topping $10 billion. Alabama had at least 62 tornadoes, some of which destroyed communities in Tuscaloosa, Pleasant Ridge, and Hackleburg. It was one of the worst outbreaks Tennessee ever experienced. Meteorologist David Glenn looks back at what happened.
The damage left behind was shocking. Through the heart of downtown Ringgold, businesses and homes were ripped apart in seconds. Dozens were injured, and 8 lost their lives. Phil Kaywood, the manager of Elders Ace, remembers seeing the damage firsthand.
Driving over here, I started to see damage along the road, and it just seemed to get worse as I got closer.
While the hardware store still stood, it was uninhabitable as the front was ripped away. Debris and merchandise tossed in all directions. Across town, Ringgold Middle and High School took the brunt of the storm damage on campus. This included the gym, field house, and athletic field. Other buildings like the Arts Center had both water and wind damage. And with the school so heavily damaged, neighboring schools stepped up to help Ringgold students finish the school year. By the start of the fall semester, Ringgold students were able to return even as portions of the campus remained under construction. By the start of the 2012 fall semester, some 16 months after the tornado, the campus was fully restored.
It's something that I will never forget. I don't think this community will ever forget the devastation, the loss of lives, but Ringgold is a strong-knit community.
The devastating tornado that struck Ringgold, Georgia, was one of just many violent tornadoes that struck so many parts of the southeast and the Tennessee Valley on that day back in 2011. This particular storm was a long-track one. It traveled 57 miles across 2 states and 5 counties, reaching EF4 strength several times along that path. Peak intensity EF4 with winds of 190 miles per hour. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist David Glenn.
And as we head into the weekend, many of us think about ways to relax. For some of us, that means a spa day, but humans are not the only ones who like a little glam time. Researchers in Australia have released some really remarkable video of humpback whales. These whales are rolling on the seafloor to exfoliate dead skin and remove parasites. Scientists say it's to improve. It is important to maintain, your skin health. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, tips on when to start your outdoor spring gardening. We'll be right back.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have a nice looking day on tap for today. Look for afternoon highs in the 50s and 60s. We'll enjoy a lot of sun. And we'll focus our attention on a 2-pronged system that will be affecting the Northeast over the weekend. Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're seeing some light rain overspread most of the Northeast. Round number 1 will bring mostly light rain. Round number 2 will be late Sunday night, and into Monday morning. That's 7 a.m. Monday. That's going to bring a heavier rain and stronger wind.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor looking like a mess as we head through the morning commute. Even worse by about lunchtime for Maryland and the Delmarva. Look at that heavy rain down across the lower Delmarva and eastern Virginia into the mid to late afternoon. And maybe some showers all the way into Friday night as well. And that's going to be with our latest slow-moving weather maker. Plenty of heavy rain, cool temperatures for Friday. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your forecast highs for the southeast. We're seeing 71 in Nashville, a high of 77 in Birmingham. Mobile about 83 degrees compared to Raleigh at 76. Jacksonville, Florida looking at 81 degrees, 88 in West Palm. We do have a system moving out of here, heading up to the northeast. Some sun and clouds across parts of Atlanta down through Georgia and the Carolinas. Still chances for some thunderstorm activity through parts of Florida, but most of the southeast should enjoy some sunshine through the day.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Thursday was an active one in Panama City Beach, Florida, from waterspouts to lightning, including hail the size of quarters and ping pong balls. Also seen along the beach, these clouds resembling clumps of cotton. They're called mammatus clouds. Even though they don't generate severe weather, they can be found along with severe thunderstorms and sometimes with storms that aren't so strong.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Weather is so important when it comes to outdoor sporting events, so it's no surprise that groups like the PGA keep meteorologists on site for every golf tournament. Emily Gracie sat down with one of those meteorologists to talk about his job forecasting for these events. He says the most important part of his job is keeping the players and also spectators safe from lightning.
You know, I have 2 laptop computers we set up at the course. We also have an electric field meter that we set up. And so using, you know, Doppler radar, lightning detection, and that electric field meter, I mean, we know exactly when it's going to be dangerous at the golf course. So using all that technology together, we can tell the officials, hey, you know, this storm's 25 miles away. It's going to be here in an hour. So let's start getting prepared. And as it gets closer, the advice I give to the officials, hey, we now it's time to stop. And so that's when the horns will blow on the golf course, and that signals that it's a dangerous situation. And we start the evacuation process. So,
do you ever get blamed or thanked by the players for what's going on?
Oh, I mean, you know, you're a meteorologist, so you know, I mean, we get blamed for everything. It's either too hot, too cold, too windy, too warm. You know, it's always too something, right? Obviously, sunny days, everybody's happy in a good mood because everything's going smoothly. And then obviously, if you throw a thunderstorm in there and you do have to stop play, then obviously we're the blame for that. On the PGA Tour, you know, most of the players and the officials, they know we're doing the best we can do, and we're very accurate at what we do. So I think they respect it. They really do.
Is there any insider information you can give us about being on the ground at the Masters?
Well, I mean, it's a special place to be, and, you know, the Masters has their set of rules, and I will say this, they have a very good weather policy in place. They like to suspend play an hour before any storms are going to arrive so they can get the patrons off the property, because it takes that long to get that many people off the property. You know, if we are expecting weather that day, we may have meetings at 5 in the morning before they even open gates at 7 a.m. So the days are really long. And they're demanding. They're really on top of things. So it's just different. I can't really describe it, but it's different.
If you want to hear more interviews like this, check out our podcast, Off the Radar. New episodes drop every Tuesday. This week's episode is all about how weather can help solve crimes. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcasts. With May arriving on Monday, many of you are itching to get outside and start planning. But depending on where you live, that final frost date may not have arrived just yet. Columbus meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael has more.
A lot of people are getting antsy to start planting outside, but still a little early for that, depending on where you live. Take a look. So for pansies like this, these are good to go. They can take a good frost. However, the potted plant's always good and easy to kind of put back inside. Same with the hanging baskets. Very easy to put back inside on cold, frosty nights ahead. Tomatoes, though, you got to wait on those. Those are a little bit more sensitive. And take a look at the entire map here. This is mygardenlife.com. This gives you an idea of the estimated last frost date for spring across the entire country. Obviously, some places get a little bit colder than others, so take this with a grain of salt. So again, it all comes down to where you live and exactly what you want to get planted outside.
In Michigan, the roller coaster spring temperatures from cold to record warmth and back again can be really hard on the fish. Meteorologist Heather Bricka is in Traverse City with a look at why seeing dead fish along the shores of Lake Michigan is not a cause for concern.
The spring season is a time where you might see more dead fish washing ashore.
Yeah, in the spring, it's not uncommon for us to see fish that died actually during the winter, or for that matter, during the late winter. It's called winter kill. And what it is that once we have ice cover and snow cover on top, that cuts off light, which essentially shuts off the ability for vegetation to maintain itself.
When the plants in the lakes aren't producing enough oxygen for the fish, ultimately they suffocate. Then these fish start decomposing under the ice, but that's not the only reason we see winter kill.
Another reason we're seeing probably a little bit more mortality right now than we typically do is because we have these really wide fluctuations in temperature. And that's really hard on fish. They can go down in temperature pretty easily, but going up in temperature is really hard on them.
Whelan says the most common fish that are dying during this time are bluegills.
One, it's probably bluegills, which isn't terribly surprising. Bluegills are living in vegetation typically, or in and around vegetation. So they're one that we see often. Another one we see pretty often are gizzard shad, and gizzard shad are extremely vulnerable to any type of stress.
A stunning display of the northern lights filled much of the night sky over the U.S. this past weekend. It's all thanks to space weather. However, auroras are not the only effects of space weather. Meteorologist Mitchell Combs is in Missoula, Montana, with more on how weather in space can impact us right here on Earth.
Space weather caused by the sun has an increasing potential to greatly impact Earth's systems and technologies. This is due to growing dependence on the number of satellites in space, power grids, use of global positioning system, as well as commuter air travel and space travel. Solar flares can degrade or block high-frequency radio waves used for radio communication during radio blackout events. They are classified based on their strength and designated as A, B, C, M, and X-class flares. A-class flares are the weakest, while X are the strongest and most impactful. High-speed, energetic protons can penetrate satellite electronics and cause electrical failures while also blocking radio communication at high latitudes during solar radiation storms. Coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, can cause geomagnetic storms which induce extra currents in the ground that can degrade power grid operations. Geomagnetic storms also modify signals from GPS, diminishing their accuracy. Geomagnetic storms are measured on two scales, the KP index and the G scale. Each of these correlate with one another. KP indices of 4 or below do not constitute a geomagnetic storm. At G1 and G2 levels, you're in that minor to moderate range, while severe to strong storms are G3 and G4 levels. The most extreme storms are held for G5. Earth is constantly being barraged by space weather, but fortunately for us, the Earth's ionosphere, magnetosphere, and atmosphere do a great job at protecting us from the most hazardous effects.
And we'd love to connect with you. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen. Time for a short break. We leave you with views of the Murrells Inlet in South Carolina.
Well, good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly. We've got two systems here. One in the Ohio Valley bringing rain showers to Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We've got the dry slot. Pretty nice today into Springfield and St. Louis, low to mid-70s. Cold front then into the upper Midwest will slowly slide its way across the Great Lakes. We'll see temperatures into the mid-60s with rain as we get into the day on your Saturday in South Bend. 69 then on Saturday in Cincinnati.
Well, good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Uche. Look at our forecast today across the region and going to keep a close eye across the I-35 corridor in Texas. Strong to severe storms likely develop the afternoon into the evening with wind, large hail, perhaps a couple of tornadoes, and they'll move towards the Gulf Coast by later in the evening into Friday night. Notice behind this system, much cooler weather comes in for Saturday. Lows in the 30s and 40s. A few leftover showers, some clouds, East Texas, Louisiana into Arkansas.
Well, hi there, everybody. It is going to be a fantastic Friday. A little on the hot side here, though, as we head into the final stretch of April on the West Coast. Look at nearly 100 today out of Phoenix, 87 for a roaster out of the Rose City in Portland, and 79 for a beauty out of Boise. High pressure, that's our current weather maker. It will be bearing down over the Intermountain West over the days to come. A lot of sunshine expected for Salt Lake City, Denver, and Albuquerque as well. And that's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Florida saw severe hail this week, but how is it possible for ice to fall from the sky on a warm day? Meteorologist Steve Knight explains.
So what exactly is hail? Well, hail is a form of precipitation consisting of solid ice that forms inside thunderstorm updrafts. Hail can damage airplanes, your property, your vehicles, and if large enough, it can be deadly to both animals and people. Hailstones are formed when raindrops are carried upward by thunderstorm updrafts into extremely cold areas of the atmosphere. If the water freezes instantaneously when colliding with the hailstone, cloudy ice will form. The more the hailstone is swept up by the updrafts, the larger it grows. The hail falls when the thunderstorm's updraft can no longer support the weight of the hailstone, which can occur if the stone becomes large enough or the updraft weakens. It's possible for large hailstones to fall at over 100 miles per hour, and the stronger the updraft, the bigger the hailstone. The largest hailstone to fall in the United States happened in South Dakota in 2010. It had a diameter of 8 inches and weighed almost 2 pounds.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we'll have more great gardening tips for you. I'm Angela Brown. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.